Well, that was a disaster. Let me show you how not to do that. Hi everyone and welcome to another recipe video. And today I'm making a pandan scented coconut double skim milk pudding in an actual coconut. And I will show you the way I usually open these, which is completely different to the way you saw me attempt right at the beginning, which is technically the correct way, but also since I have a really cruddy knife, it's super cheap, it failed. So first I'm taking one young coconut, and this was the original one which broke my knife due to the supposedly correct technique, so let's fast forward to when I tried this again and show you the technique I usually use, which never fails. So first I'm getting rid of some of that excess white husk until I'm exposing the hard shell underneath. And I'm doing this with my shiny new knife, which I hurriedly went out and bought after I completely destroyed the other one. Now I'm taking my smaller, sturdier knife here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to score all the way around little marks. So I'm sawing through, but not all the way through, and I'm actually creating weak points around the shell at the top. What you're supposed to do is use a big, sturdy knife or meat cleaver to chop one of the weak corners of the coconut, but unfortunately my knife wasn't sturdy enough, so this is what works for me. Now that I've created those weak points, I'm actually going to hammer the knife into them all the way through, and I'm being lazy and using the metal part of my metal pestle and mortar. The metal pestle. So do that all the way around where you created those scores, and once you get around, start twisting the knife carefully, mind your fingers, and you will find, as well as the coconut juice spilling out a bit, that it will begin to crack and create weak points, which you can then eventually prise open like this, and you've created a really nice neat circular shell. And don't forget to drink that coconut water because it's lovely, but you're not going to need it in this recipe, so feel free to drain it and drink it. And here's me again using the proper technique and failing. So back to that very first coconut that broke my knife that I did eventually manage to open. I've drained it out, I've drank all of the coconut water, I'm just going to set that aside. And you can throw the top away, but don't forget to eat that little bit of coconut meat at the top. Again, don't need it for the recipe. You don't want to waste it either, makes a tasty snack. I love how soft and jelly-like young coconut meat is. Now we're going to make that milk filling. So we're going to take 150 millilitres of full fat milk, and make sure it's full fat, otherwise it won't form a good enough skin. And now we're going to flavour it by infusing it with 3 pandan leaves. So I'm just roughly shredding them here, and I'm going to tie them in a knot so that they fit in the pan more easily. You should use a smaller pan than I have, but I only have a big pan and a teeny tiny pan, so working with what I have here. You can use pandan essence instead, but it will turn the milk green. Now we're going to heat it until it's just about simmering, and stir it at this point because you don't want to create the skin too early, so break the skin up and keep stirring it and infuse it for about 10 minutes. And now take it off the heat and pour all of that milk into a bowl to cool. And at this point you can discard the leaves. You can't eat them, unfortunately, they're very tough. I've tried. Try everything once, right? I mean, unless you know for a fact it's poisonous, then that's just silly. And if you don't know if it's poisonous or not, probably also best not to try it. This part's optional, I'm just popping the bubbles in the milk because the fewer bubbles there are, the bigger the skin you'll get, the wider the skin, and you can see it's forming now. So you want to let the milk cool down to about room temperature. And while that's cooling, we're going to make the egg white mixture. So you need 1 egg white, and you don't need the yolk for this recipe. I like to cure my yolks with a bit of soy sauce when I have 1 or 2 left over. It's really simple, you just add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce to the bowl with the egg yolk and then keep it in the fridge, and then you can eat it with rice. But we're not going to use that today, so just pop the egg yolk away to use for something else later, e.g. soy cured egg yolk. All we need is the white. And to that, we're going to add 1 tablespoonful of caster sugar. Now I'm giving it a good stir until all that sugar's dissolved, but I'm being careful not to beat it or whisk it because we don't actually want too many air bubbles in this. We're not making a mousse, we want a smooth pudding. And now we're going to put everything together. So the double skin of the double skin milk pudding name refers to the skin we've just made now, and then the skin that's formed when we steam everything. So what we're doing now is we're adding most of the milk into the egg white mixture, which we'll mix in a minute, but we're pushing back that milk skin so that it stays in the bowl, and also leaving a bit of milk in the bowl so it still floats, and adding a teeny tiny bit of that milk into the coconut too, because what we want to do is remove that skin and then float it on top of the coconut, on top of the milk in the coconut. which is super tricky, and I almost never managed to get it to lay flat. If you were making this in the bowl, you'd actually add the egg white mixture back into the bowl, but we're not steaming it in the bowl. And I have actually tried to pour the milk from the coconut into the measuring jug before, but it just went everywhere, so I found this is the easiest way, unfortunately. So once you've mixed the milk and the egg white together, we want to sift it into the coconut, and don't worry about that skin, it will float back to the top. What the sieve is doing is stopping any bubbles from getting in, and also any chunks of egg white, and I'm taking my mini whisk here and helping the rest of that through now because it is a bit thick. And that's pretty much it. Now all you have to do is cover it tightly with foil because we don't want any water dripping in, and then transfer it into our steamer. And you are going to need a pretty big pot to steam this, at least a pretty tall pot, because the coconut is quite chunky. As you can see, I've got my giant stock pot here. I'm just going to cover that and steam it for a good hour or so. Once that's done, simply unveil your coconut pudding, give it a quick jiggle to make sure it's properly set. It will still be a little bit jiggly but not watery. And then you can either cool it a little bit and then eat it warm, or let it cool completely and chill in the fridge to have a cold pudding. And here you can see a little bit of a jiggle there. Cheeky! Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you'll join me next Wednesday for my next one. Get the full recipe on my blog tashcakes.com, and find me on Instagram as tashcakestastes. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to see more. Give this video a like if you liked it to help other people find it. Comment down below if you'd like me to make anything in particular. And I'll see you guys later. Be good, be nice, and have a good week.